Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Susan Blackwood, and I'm your host moderator today for Facebook Live on the Global Pain Association Facebook page. And your moderator, Aaron Eisenberg, we've given him a little time off for good behavior. And so thank you for letting me be part of this broadcast today. I'm so excited because not only being live on Facebook, our topic today is one that our followers have sent in to us, the stigma of living with chronic pain. And our special guest is Dr. Marianne Pinkston, who is a physician and also a chronic pain warrior herself. Just a great opportunity for us to visit with her today. I know some of you are expecting Dr. Ellen Lynn to be joining us, but she had an emergency. And as one of our medical directors for Global Pain Association, I'm sure she's going to be joining us somewhere later in the series before the end of the year. I'm a volunteer on the board of directors of Global Pain Association. Dr. Pinkston is one of our volunteer advisory council members, and they've got so many people that are involved with so much passion in bringing this series to you on a regular basis. Now that we're going twice a month, we're so excited about the topics that we have for the remainder of the year. Why am I involved with the Chronic Pain Association? My mother was addicted to painkillers for about 40 years, and I saw how that affected her life and what kind of life she had in terms of her experiences. And so in 2018, when Dr. Lynn asked me to start and help start the Global Pain Association as a not-for-profit, I was very excited about doing this on behalf of my mother and in her memory. In 2019, we had our first Global Pain Association seminar. It was very, very successful. And in 2020, we were planning our second one, which was to happen in May. And with the COVID situation hitting us, since some of the world put everything on pause, Global Pain Association, our board of directors and our advisory council pivoted. And realistically, they decided that we would go with a virtual series. It has exceeded every expectation that we've had. And we want to tell you a little bit later how you can get involved with the Global Pain Association and make sure that these opportunities are available. We couldn't do this up without our sponsors, and today's series is brought to you by the River City Cardiovascular Organization. It's a comprehensive independent cardiology practice. The doctors are board certified cardiology physicians licensed in Texas to treat all aspects of cardiac related illnesses. The practice has 5 locations in San Antonio and satellite offices in Floresville, Pleasanton, Pearsall, and Jordanton. Learn more about their organization and why they're a sponsor of Global Pain Association at www.rccvsa.com. And thank you again to River City Cardiovascular. I want to introduce our guest, and in many, many realms of the Chronic Pain Association and community, she needs no introduction. But Marianne Pinkston is the owner of Pinkston Medical and Wellness Clinic. Their practice is a family practice in integrative medicine. She is the owner of Pinkston Medical and Wellness Clinic, a medical director of the Dulles Medical Spa, and she's lived herself with rheumatoid arthritis for 13 years. I have personally watched her passion and her enthusiasm for global pain as she served as a volunteer. And I'm so pleased that we could have her on today and grateful for her time and her treasures. Thank you, Dr. Pinkston.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's a nice introduction. I appreciate it. Hey, Ron, we miss you. Susan's doing a great job hanging in with us today, and I appreciate you guys having me on. And hello, Dr. Lynn out there. Hope you're doing well. We miss you too. But yeah, I'm super happy to be on today. Have been a sufferer of RA for 13 years, so pain is very near and dear to me, and something that I'm so thrilled to be a part of. Thank you guys very much.
Well, Dr. Pinkston, tell us, what is a stigma?
So yeah, we're talking about stigmas today, and I think stigma is kind of a negative connotation, but in this realm, I think it means a myth, something that people believe to be true that actually isn't true. So some of the stigmas that I think I see when I am with my patients are a couple of different things. I'll hit a couple of aspects here. So doctors, first of all, don't have pain. So when I sit with my patients now and I talk about pain, I really come from a very different aspect. I think sometimes patients don't think that their doctors have the diseases that they, have the honor to empathize with their patients about. And so doctors do have some of these diseases. Don't forget, sometimes when you're sitting in front of them, they're talking to you about, what to do and how to handle your problems, that they may be suffering from those things too, and you didn't know it. I think one of the things that struck me when I first got diagnosed, it took about 3 years for me to actually get diagnosed. And I had a lot of doctors that I thought were friends and peers that told me, well, your labs are normal, you look great. Maybe you should go and see a psychiatrist. Maybe this is depression. And I think a lot of patients have told me they have faced that from their physicians, that they aren't believed because they look normal. They, don't have contorted joints, or they're not using, braces or canes, or, they dress up and get ready and go to work and put on a brave face. But inside, they feel like they're completely falling apart and can't find anything to handle their pain. Even their families, a lot of families, don't believe their loved ones and get irritated or upset with them. And I think one of those stigmas is that, I look great, but I'm really deeply hurting inside. And that can come from the doctor's place too. It happened to me as well. So that's one of the bigger ones there. You guys ready for the next one? The next one's really near and dear to me too.
I mean, this is really important, Dr. Pinkston, because a lot of us think exercise is really important. We want to exercise, but as a chronic pain patient myself, sometimes people tell me you shouldn't be exercising, or some days I get up and say, there's no way I can exercise. What do you think about that? Absolutely
right. So I'm going to spend a little extra time on this one, because one of the biggest stigmas is that, and I put that quote down there, is that I really just get up every day and I move to survive, but I don't survive to move. And if you will look at that photo there, that is a picture of me 3 years ago. The larger size, I was 300 pounds, having taken many steroid medications, and, had gotten to the place where I was, surviving to moving to survive and not surviving to move. And I thought exercise would be bad for me. People told me, like you said, don't exercise. It's just do as little as you can. And that actually, Dr. Pendleton Wickersham is my rheumatologist. And he told me one day that for the type of arthritis that you have, it's an inflammatory arthritis. When you first get up and you get going, you're going to hurt. But as you move, as you exercise, that's going to be good for you. Do it. It's going to get the inflammation out and you're going to feel better. And he was absolutely right. And so Dr. Wickersham knows as well as anybody, when I wrap my head around something, I do it 1,000%. And I decided to take on that 300 pounds. I had horrible back pain. I could not bend over and pick anything up. If I did, I was stuck there for 3 days and stuck in bed for 3 days. Every joint in my body hurt. And he told me that, getting up and moving would make me feel better. Losing weight would make me feel better. So I took it on and I did it. And I lost 162 pounds now. And I feel it's so different. Even though I wake up in the morning, I still have horrible chronic pain. There are days where I want to roll up in the fetal position in bed and just hang on to myself. And I think, I can't move. I can't live. I can't do this. But 5 a.m. every morning, I get up and I go do it. I lift weights, I walk, I eat right. I do what I'm supposed to do, because I know if I slide backwards and I go back to that body that I had, I'm going to be 10 times worse. And it's great for my mentality too. So take a drink. I'm sorry. It's great for my mentality. It really helps with the depression and the anxiety that follows you into chronic pain. So yes, I had that as well. And it really helped me get beyond that. I think when patients look at themselves and, think there's no way I could do that, it's not true. You can involve a trainer. You can look online. You can ask your doctor. You can do physical therapy. I would help a patient, give them an exercise plan. You can do upper body movements. You can just, if you get started, just walk to the mailbox and back. If that's the first thing you do for, a month, just do that. Then walk past the mailbox and back and just add on. And ask somebody who has more knowledge than you about how you can safely move and start to build those muscles. When it comes to back pain, building your low back and your abdominal muscles and strengthening those can change the entire existence of your pain and your existence with it, and make you a lot more mobile and decrease your pain entirely. Exercise is everything, and it has been everything that I've been able to hold on to for the last 3 years. It saved my life completely. And I think the last thing I'll mention about this too is that when I watch my patients who, finally will go and claim disability, they'll quit work, they'll quit forcing themselves up every morning and quit forcing themselves to go every day. You want to. I know I've been there where I just couldn't do it anymore. But when they, go from a cane to a walker for safety issues, if you have to, you have to. But when patients stop walking and go to scooters, I see patients who go to disability or to, go up in their level of assistance. I see them worsen. They get more overweight. They get more disabled. They get more in pain. It's almost like retirement sometimes. So that's when I'll see patients go downhill. When they quit forcing themselves to get up and move, that's when things get worse.
Well, Dr. Pinkston, you're such an inspiration to us. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. But on another topic, I hear some people say, how about marijuana? It's legal in other states, so it must help.
Right? Okay, I really want to hit this because I would say about 8 out of every 10 patients that I see that have any sort of pain, and I don't do chronic pain in my clinic, but I talk to patients about it all the time. There are a lot of patients who will use THC or marijuana, especially at night, in order to treat their pain. Then there's a small group of people who are so against it and just think even using something like CBD, that is marijuana, it's illegal, that shouldn't be done. And we've got to get our information straight about what this plant is and does. So there is, marijuana, and then there's hemp, and then there's many, different species and types of plants, and it is a plant. And I think whenever we think about, smoking marijuana or, eating edibles and things like that, a lot of times patients will use all THC-based sources for their pain control. And what they're forgetting is that our bodies have receptors all over for the endocannabinoid molecule. And that is the major part of the plant. If you think about how the plant grows, it's all of the endocannabinoid, and then it buds and flowers, and it's a little bit of THC. But when they harvest these plants, they'll take all the THC and sell it just THC, and that is a very high dose of a psychotropic substance that can make people high and give people relief, yes, but most of the relief comes from that CBD or the endocannabinoid. So if you can just use the CBD and not use the THC portion of it, if you're afraid, if you drug test or you don't want to use a drug of any sort, just use the hemp plant and the CBD. You're not using a drug. And you have to watch the type that you use. They sell it at the gas station. It drives me crazy. And there are just certain sources that we really need to watch and stay with and be very cautious about what you're using, because when you've used it and you said it didn't work, it's probably the type and the dose and all of that. So you need to talk to, a physician or somebody medical that understands this a lot more. But when you use just THC, so let's get to that, because like I say, 8 out of 10 of my patients use predominantly THC, and they argue with me and say, it helps me and I don't want to stop because now I can't use opioids. My doctors won't prescribe it anymore. And so what they don't understand is that THC actually decreases your brain chemistry. So it decreases your serotonin, norepinephrine, and all of those that decrease your depression and anxiety. So although it gives you relief to use it, later on, you're left without that brain chemistry. So your depression and anxiety can actually increase. The other thing too is it changes your pain threshold. So you get relief when you use it, but when you're not using it, your pain threshold changes and you're actually in more pain. Then there is a dependence issue. People say you can't get addicted to it. That is absolutely not true. We have proven over and over again, you can. There is a dependence that is created, and it increases dopamine in the brain and gives you a reward when you use it. So you can get dependent on it. And then, last but not least, it just, again, the testosterone idea. I do a lot of hormone replacement, and I use hormone replacement for treating pain in patients. Testosterone is not just a male hormone, it's a female hormone too. And the THC only sources decrease testosterone. So, that can affect men greatly, women too, of course, but it definitely can affect mood and ability to be strong and gain muscle, all of those things that help you, to relieve pain. So I hope that helps to straighten out some of the, the myths and stigmas there as far as marijuana or THC and CBD is concerned.
That is so informative. And, and watching this virtual series grow and having reached now about 45,000 people, one of the other things that we're hearing is, well, if I'm treated correctly, I shouldn't feel any pain, right? So could you address that, please?
Yes, so exactly. Okay, so a couple of ideas about this, and it may entail kind of the next slide, so I may cross over, and that's okay. But one of the things that, patients, I think, misunderstand, and I misunderstood way back when I first started, trying to, get help with treating pain, is that once I find the right treatment, I'm going to be completely out of pain. And that is not the case. Your body is made up of all of these pain sensors, and they're there to tell the brain that something is going wrong. There's something wrong with your body. If you touch fire, you want to get your hand off of it, and it's going to tell you it's too hot, remove your hand. So those signals have to be in place. What happens is in chronic pain is that those signals keep firing from the body and from the spinal cord and keep telling the brain, we're in pain. You need to change this. This needs to be different. And the brain, we still haven't, in all cases, found the way to stop that error in signaling. But whenever we use pain therapies, patients might not ever truly, completely be out of pain. And so we have to not rely on just, physicians and medications and things to pull us completely out of pain. It may never happen. You're going to have to live with some level of pain. It's just what level can you live with? And that's so unfortunate. And that may be horribly bad news for people. But I've done it for 13 years and figured some things out. No, I'm not ever completely out of pain. I'll have a good day here and there. But there's just a level that I've had to come to terms with that I'm going to have some, so I've got to live with part of it. And there's a reason why, I put the opioid crisis in quotes, is because it's not totally about abuse. The crisis, everybody thinks, well, somebody is abusing it, and therefore I'm not able to get my medications. No, the problem is that we are over-prescribing and overusing, expecting it to fix a problem it is never, ever going to fix. And so the opioids do the same thing that THC does. It decreases your brain chemistry, decreases your testosterone. It's very addicting, gets those dopamine cycles going, and you get tolerant on it. So you have to keep increasing and increasing and adding on and adding on. It is an endless, endless death search right there to, throw people into these cycles. We have to get people away from opioids and into a better way of treating pain so that we don't send them down that path. It's incredibly destructive to lives. As you mentioned in the beginning, Dr. Susan, it is incredibly, addictive and terrible for patients. We do have to pull people out of that. So even though, the opioid crisis isn't about abuse, it is about about dependence essentially, and we've all depended on it to fix something it is never going to fix. And the last thing is, why do doctors think I'm drug seeking? So one of the things about being in a medical office and having patients, they'll call at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon saying, you better call in my prescription right now for my pain medicine. And the staff are all like, well, they're just addicted to their medication. I'm like, no, you have to understand, these patients aren't addicted. They're scared to death. They're not going to get their refill, and that they're going to run out and withdraw over the weekend. Patients cannot go through withdrawal. It's deadly. And I think it's not, after patients are on these medications for so long, they don't get high anymore. It's not that. It's withdrawal. If you have ever been through any sort of withdrawal, you would know it is the most horrible, anxiety-driven, and deadly thing to go through. And so I try to educate staff that no, it's really not about catching a high anymore. It's about withdrawal, and it's very frightening and a terrible thing for patients to go through. So that might be something doctors, need to learn about patients, that they're not always drug seeking, to get a high. They're drug seeking to not hit those lows so that they don't withdraw. Very important one.
Well, I've heard you share so much information about pharmaceutical prescriptions, etc., and other herbs. How do you feel about those, and do they work?
Yes, absolutely. So I think one of the stigmas is that if I am using pharmaceutical medications, they are studied and they are safe. They are put out there meant to be safer and meant for chronic use. And this is absolutely not the case. And then they'll think just because my doctor gave me a prescription for it means that I can use it all I want to, use it as much as I want to, and just keep using it and keep using it. And, whenever patients will see those adverse side effects on the commercials, you're going to grow a third eye, you're going to lose all your eyelashes and all the things they put on those silly commercials, but those are very real. And when patients overuse or tend to use too long, there are bad things that can happen. Now, not that there aren't bad things that can happen when patients use herbs and things like that, but I promise you, it's exceedingly rare. And so it has to be either seizure medication or blood thinner medications that patients run into problems with herbals. For the most part, herbals are safe when used appropriately. So I'm not asking you to overuse them, but when used appropriately, they are exceedingly safe. And maybe there's a nice combination between using pharmaceuticals and using herbals. And that way you can find your balance. You can find what helps you, because each person is completely different. Sometimes it's inflammation, sometimes it's bone on bone, sometimes it's muscle spasm. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why patients have pain. And so you just have to find your mix of what helps. And pharmaceuticals are not necessarily stronger than natural herbs. They're not necessarily better. So sometimes the herbal ends, I use lots of herbals and I find way more use out of my herbals and, tinctures and things that I've got a friend who's an herbalist and she keeps me solid in something that has changed my life. And I don't have a lot of pharmaceuticals that I rely on. So I really think it's very important to understand, and one thing I'll tell you too, it's like, because it's over the counter. So, we have Advil and Tylenol over the counter. You can just go buy it, use it, and follow the directions. Maybe use one more tablet. It's not going to hurt because it's over the counter. Yeah, over the counter probably has more medicines that are unsafe for us and more dangerous than some of the pharmaceuticals that are prescribed. So really be very cautious when going into thinking that all of these things are safe. There might be combinations or herbals or things that are better that might do better for you.
Well, and you and I have talked about me being 72 and having chronic pain. How much of this is my age? How much of this is my nutrition?
Well, you know what? This is a very, very important fact. That's something I really would love to talk about. And I do not believe that getting old and getting into pain and getting weak and gaining weight and all of those things is a normal process at all. You can see my photo, previous of the weight that I've lost. And sure, I do Botox. I did some plastic surgeries and things like that. And I'm not trying to be younger at all. What I'm trying to do is just fight the aging process, doing hormone replacement, things like that, because it's more about pain and it's more about quality of life than it is looks. And I don't think that because we lose our hormones, that we have to give in to that and age and, gain weight and grow older. It can be done very gracefully, and you never have to use a substance or have a surgery ever to do that. But just take care of yourself and your nutrition, to exercise, to build up your muscle mass, to get your hormones naturally straightened out. All of those things are natural things that you can do to bring back your body and resist the aging process, because no, you don't have to go down that aging process to and spend your life hurting and feeling terrible about yourself. And on the food side of things, one of the things that people think is that on the food side of things that it's just about eating too many calories and gaining weight. Well, weight is definitely an issue. Like I said, for your knees and your low back, for every pound that you lose 4 pounds of pressure off your knees and your low back. That to me is an insane, insane thing that is incredible. That if you can just remove a pound, you take 4 pounds of pressure off your knees. Can you imagine how much 20 pounds would remove off your back and your knees? That would cure some people's pain. But it isn't just about weight. Things like carbohydrates and gluten-free and all of these little things that are out there right now about diet that people think is more myth than fact is actually very true. So take carbs and inflammation. So if you have an autoimmune disease and you are riddled with inflammation and inflammation is causing your pain, if you can eliminate some of the bad carbs, not all carbs, but some of the bad carbs, including things like gluten or dairy, then give yourself about 2 weeks and you will see inflammation fall off your body, and you will see a remarkable change in your pain. Now, people will stop it for a few days. They'll, stop carbs for a couple of days or gluten for a couple of days, and they think they're going to, be better. And they're like, well, I didn't get any better. Now, you have to do it for at least 2 weeks in order to see if that is going to change your inflammatory pattern. And there are other foods, but that's what I do. That's what I sit in office and do all day long, is talk about these things. But yes, foods can definitely make a difference.
Dr. Pinkston, thank you so much for sharing this information with us and your experiences and relating that to all of us. And I know you'll share with me thanking our sponsor for this series today, River City Cardiovascular. They've been with us since we started this series last May. And as a comprehensive independent cardiology practice, they really believe in global pain. The doctors are board certified cardiology physicians licensed in Texas to treat all aspects of cardiac related illnesses. The practice has 5 locations in San Antonio and satellite offices in Floresville, Pleasanton, Pearsall, and Jordanton. And if anybody wants to learn more, they can go to www.rccfsa.com. And just to remind our viewers that the Global Pain Association is only possible because we've got sponsors and donors like yourself. And if you go to www.globalpain.org or email us at info@globalpain.org, you can donate by going to our website and clicking on Get Involved. And we hope everybody will help us keep the series going. Now, we have a special edition coming up in 1 week, a special edition on November 14th. Dr. Lo Dog, Chief Innovation Officer and co-founder of Rightful, will discuss modern natural medicine for supporting chronic pain. I can't wait for that session, and that'll be on November 14th, right here live on Facebook. So join us at Global Pain Association Facebook Live next Saturday at noon, and we'll hear more about Dr. Lowe's experience. Thank you very much for being with us today.